Alrighty, I've got another heater for you today. Today's episode of Stick Figures Gone Wild features me falling into an irrigation ditch and eating a moldy sandwich by accident. So buckle up, buddy boy. It was my freshman year in college, and it was the first weekend of the school year. College! Time to get lit, buddy. So my friend and I were looking for a place to drink some good old cheap whiskey. Being a freshman, we did not know of any parties, so we decided to go over to one of my friend's place to just drink real quick. Two of our other friends tagged along, but I had just met them a week or two before, so I didn't know them all that well, I guess. So we showed up to my friend's place with a half gallon of cheap whiskey and 1 liter of Dr. Pepper as a chaser. You know, the perfect ratio. I had known the guy whose house we were at for a long time, so I started introducing him to the 3 people that I had brought to his house. There was John, then there was the 2 cousins that had come along with us. One was going to be our DD, and the other one was going to partake in some drinking. But when I was introducing them, I was like, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, but when I got to the third person, one of the cousins, I couldn't remember her name, and I was like, this is... and I paused for a while, and my mind turned off, and I knew her name pretty well, actually, but my brain at the moment was like, hey bud, you know what, fuck you. So everyone stared at me for a bit, and then she just ended up having to introduce herself because I was drawing a complete blank. So the night was off to a great start so far. Anyways, he showed us around the place, but then we set up camp in the living room with just regular water glasses and no ice to pour our lukewarm whiskey and 1 liter of Dr. Pepper. John and I started pouring straight whiskey in a glass and downing it with a little taste of DP behind it. The other 2 were drinking, but they were drinking in a much more responsible manner, sipping on their drinks like, you know, people that had drank before. The ambience of this place was absolutely perfect, with the blaring speaker of someone's cell phone blasting some probably pretty shitty music. And I was a relatively good boy in high school, so when it came to drinking and such, I had never really tested my limits. So the cheap whiskey and the Dr. P combo was actually going down kind of smooth. We eventually finished off the majority of the bottle of whiskey, most of which was shared between John and I, and we had also done so in a quick manner because we had shown up to the place pretty late. So we started to head home with our DD driving. The 3 of them lived in dorms while I still lived at home. But when we were driving back, I began to feel a little bit ill. I asked if we could pull over quickly, and John quickly agreed with me. So she pulled over the car, and John and I hopped out of the car as quickly as we could and began the process of what began a long night of throwing up. After we were done throwing up, I also had to pee, so it was dark in the middle of nowhere, so we decided to just go on the side of the road as well. But to be courteous to my female counterparts in the car, I made my way farther away from the car and then started to pee at the same time. But while peeing, I was still inching further away from the car. Well, there was an irrigation ditch on the other side of the road, and I fell into it while peeing with my pants down. I got back up and put my pants on while John gave me a well-deserved roast, and I was wearing PJs at the time of falling in the water, so I removed my PJs, balled them up into a sad little ball, and then sat in shame in the front seat of the car while we drove back to the dorms. We first dropped off John, and then I decided to sleep off the night in the dorm room with the 2 cousins. They were far more sober than me, and I trusted them with my life that night, pretty much. I carried my PJs in one hand and put my arm around another one of them for support as we made our way back from the parking lot to their dorm. And when we got back to the dorm, they made me up a little bed on the floor and then gave me my dedicated puke bucket / garbage can. And responsibly so, they said I should probably try to eat something to help soak up the alcohol. So they graciously made me a Nutella sandwich to eat. And I downed that bad boy very quickly because, you know, drunk me and Nutella get along very well. But on the last bite of the sandwich, I realized that the bread was moldy. So, you know, that was the perfect meal to top off the night. I did a little bit more puking before heading off to bed, and then did some more puking in the morning, and then proceeded to have the worst hangover of my life.